Hi, I'm Samantha Gilbert, and this is my CCR for my Media Studies AS Level Film Intro. Femme Fatale, a psychological thriller about a nice, sweet girl named Rose that everybody wants to be or be with, but there's something darker that lies within. I made the film with my 4 other group members. First, I'm going to talk about how my film intro uses and challenges conventions as well as how it represents social groups and issues. When it came to conventions, we focused on a few in our film. We used tension-filled music to contrast the lightheartedness of the teenage girl in her bedroom, to instill the suspicion in the viewer of what is this girl really capable of. This music is often known for being in thriller or horror films. Our genre is also known for low-key lighting. We used this as much as we could to create the eerie sense of darkness for the viewers. When Rose was in her bedroom alone, the laptop screen was the only light in the room. The red lighting we used for the shots in her bedroom also created this feeling. We also utilized this red lighting as a part of Rose's red aesthetic. Continuing with that, red is the color we pretty much all associate with horror thrillers. We wanted to use red as Rose's signature color to symbolize her bloodthirsty tendencies that we aren't made aware of until the end of the intro. The red lighting, the red lipstick, and her name being after a red flower that's beautiful on the outside, but can prick you with her thorns if you get too close. These are all Easter eggs for the hidden killer inside her. We also added on to the femme fatale trope often seen in cinema. However, we hope to change the idea of the femme fatale in our film by approaching it a little bit differently. Speaking of approaching the femme fatale trope a little differently, here's how we challenged conventions in our film intro. Our killer is the protagonist of the film. In the psychological thriller genre, we often follow a protagonist that is innocent and the victim. In Femme Fatale, we follow the killer, Rose, and we get to see everything through her point of view, putting us in the mind of this twisted teenage maniac. Also, most thrillers build up the villain to be scary by having them wear all black or having them come off as evil towards everyone they meet. Our film challenges this by presenting a killer without any of those qualities, one lovely on the surface but heartless deep down, wearing a mask. This is the psychological element of the film. Most thrillers also have quick cuts to create a sense of urgency. We chose to have longer lasting shots instead, creating a slow burn kind of feeling that is not as intense in the moment but is more impactful as the film progresses. We also have a few close-ups to show Rose's face, as that is an important part of her facade, but we didn't use too many, as we felt full shots and mid shots should be utilized and should be just as important in showing her full fake exterior. We didn't use high or low angle shots as many thrillers do. This is because our film isn't supposed to feel too intense at the start. Rather, the simplistic and natural nature of the shots is used to contrast the shock of Rose's murder at the end of the intro. The location of psychological thrillers are also very distinct, usually dark places like mental institutions, or lonely places. Instead, Femme Fatale is set in a regular home with a regular teenage girl, another addition to the contrast of what she portrays and who she really is. Moving on to social groups and issues, I think that our film explores beauty, women, and power the most, and they all relate to each other. In thrillers, we don't often see a female psycho. In this day and age, it's much more accepted. However, female representation in the genre is few and far between. Putting a girl in a position of power, the brains, manipulating every guy she can, and killing them, is not often represented in media, and when it is, it can be overlooked. Don't get me wrong, Rose is not supposed to be likable, but she is supposed to be powerful instead of a victim. I took inspiration from the 2009 film Jennifer's Body, as it reversed the role from beautiful girl as the victim to beautiful girl as the crazy murderer. We hope to give female roles more representation by doing this. Our film intro also has social commentary on beauty. Although many say that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, in traditional media this is not often true. The idea that women's main role is to be beautiful is still perpetuated by some members of our society. Our film shows that Rose's beauty on the outside is just a cover-up for the ugliness within her. Her narcissistic personality is what she uses to draw in potential victims, and her psychopathy comes from this. The shot where she checks herself out in the mirror before she leaves to murder Ethan illustrates her obsession with how she looks. Beauty on the surface isn't everything. Now I'm going to talk about how my product engages with audience and how it would be distributed as a real media text. First, engaging with audiences. Our target audience are teenagers as this film is about a teenage killer. Because the lead murderer is a girl, I think that would attract many female viewers of all ages, seeing as it's a change of pace for most thrillers and an increase of female representation that is not that common today. Also, because our female film follows the killer, it is more dynamic and complex than a thriller where the killer is just seen in the eyes of the victim. This way, we can explore Rose more and the inner workings of her deranged brain. I think that has a lot of appeal. When it comes to distribution, I think the best place for our film would be Netflix. Streaming services, like Netflix being the biggest one, have taken over as the best way to consume media, especially for teens and young adults, our target audience. There, our films would have the most potential for success, rather than playing in cinemas, where less people are attending yearly, especially now with the coronavirus leaving us all at home. Now I'm going to talk about how my production skills developed during this project. I learned a lot in pre-production, which I feel like is where the bulk of the work is. Working with a group has taught me a lot about how films are actually made. With 5 different opinions, we all had to brainstorm together and compromise together as a group. We had to write multiple scripts and multiple storyboards to change our plot a little because the coronavirus prevented us from filming at certain locations and being together at all. I learned how to think fast and work fast because of this, and now I feel like I could write a script and a storyboard, outlining shots and dialogue much easier. When writing the storyboard originally, giving meaning to shots and music and mise-en-scene wasn't easy, but the second time around, when we had to rewrite things, I felt I was able to communicate meaning much better. When it came to filming, I was the most nervous about this. Never having done it before, I had a lot to learn. Because of the coronavirus, all of my group members had to Zoom call while one of us filmed, so we could help and have input. Doing this virtually was tough. However, I still learned as much as I would have if I was there physically. As the director, I learned that there's a lot more that goes into filming than just saying the lines or pointing a camera. The process is long, even though we just filmed a 2-minute intro. Every shot has meaning and a purpose in pushing the story along. I learned that as a director, I needed to be forthcoming with my opinions on how lines were said and how shots were filmed. I became more well-versed in wearing the director's hat as filming went on. Lastly, post-production consisted of my group members and me editing on a website called WeVideo. I'm not that well-versed in technology, so I found editing quite difficult at first. Once I learned the ropes after a few days of Zoom calls and editing as a group, I was able to navigate WeVideo much easier. And now I think I can edit more videos in the future for school, film, whichever it may be, which should be a helpful new skill. Lastly, I want to talk about how I integrated technologies into the project. So, as a group, we wrote the script on Google Docs. I made the document and shared it with everyone so we could all add to the script and make changes. Writing the script on paper would have been very inefficient, of course, so this was the best way to go. We filmed the Femme Fatale intro with my group member Jen's Nikon D5-100 camera. We used it because it is a good beginner camera, not too complicated for new filmmakers while still providing us with full HD 1080p video. We also had fewer options due to the coronavirus because we had to stay home. We edited using a website called WeVideo that we could all collaborate on our laptops at home, recommended by our teacher, Mrs. Mullins. I was able to do this all from home on my MacBook Air. We also utilized technology in our film that is featured in the Femme Fatale intro. Because we could not film with our leads in person, we decided to use social media to show them talking to each other over FaceTime and text messages. Without this technology at our disposal, our whole film intro would have been impossible to make. That's it for my CCR. Hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.